Hi YouTube! So for my third video, I decided I was going to do the Booktube Newbie Tag thing. So let's go. First question. I started this channel because I've been really enjoying Booktube lately. I follow a lot of the big ones. I would love to know some of the smaller ones. So if you have a Booktube that you want me to check out, let me know. Because I'd like to form friendships as well. That could be fun. But right now, the main reason is I like books. I want to talk about books. So here I am talking about books. It's an improvement from talking to myself when I'm alone in my car. So I don't really know what's fun or unique about me. I'm still trying to find my niche. But I think if you were to watch my second video, you would realize that I am pretty passionate and I use a lot of hand gestures, jazz hands. So maybe that's what I bring to the table. I don't really know. Like a lot of booktubers, I am a writer. So I don't know. I hope I find something unique, but for now I'm just trying to find what makes me me. What excites me the most about this channel is not just the talking about books, but I feel it'll motivate me to read more and widen what I read. I did kind of widen what I read last year with different genres and stuff, but I feel like having a YouTube channel, I'll be more likely to do fun things like challenges. Like I have my one challenge to read through my bookshelf, and I could also do things like read from a certain category, stuff that I've seen other YouTubers do that just looks fun. I don't know, I'm excited. I love reading for many reasons. I do read nonfiction as well as fiction. When I'm reading nonfiction, I love to learn. I went to college many times for many different things. I have studied linguistics and anthropology. That was my undergrad. I've studied speech pathology. I've studied elementary education, medical coding, although the coding isn't in a college environment. I still studied it and paid a lot of money for it. Anyway, I read nonfiction because I like to learn. I just love learning. Even if it's something mundane, like here's how you should clean your house. My house needs cleaned. You can tell just by looking in the background of this bedroom that my house could use some cleaning. Why I love fiction, though. Why I love to read fiction. I love to be transported into someone else's life, into another world. And I like to do it with my own imagination. I do watch movies sometimes, and I watch a good amount of television. And one thing that I think a book and television have in common that movies don't as much is that you really get to know the characters over a long period of time. There are some people who read at the speed of light. I am not one of those people. I'm a fairly slow reader, not ridiculously slow, but I don't read much faster than I would read out loud. Because I really want to savor what I'm reading and understand it. And I really want to get to know the characters. I want to really get deep into the plot. And I love reading for that. I also like TV shows for that because you get longer times for one story, whereas a movie, it's pretty brief. And another thing that reading has going for it that television does not is it is your own imagination. I am imagining myself what's going on. It's in my head. I have this particular view of like what a character looks like based on the brief description we get, what a world looks like, what the combat looks like, and I think that is just so fun. What book or series got me into reading? I would say it was 3 series as a child. There is the Little House series, and Ramona Quimby's books were probably the first ones that really got me into reading. But the one that really made reading my passion is the fantasy series that must not be named. Harry Potter. I don't really like it anymore because J.K. Rowling is a horrible, horrible TERF. And if you think she's not actually a TERF, she literally posted Happy TERFmas like last year at Christmas time. So she's a TERF, people. And I guess after that came out, people are like, yeah, not only is she a TERF, but there's anti-Semitic stuff in her work. And there's like something Shacklebolt, I forgot his first name, but a character who's black named Shacklebolt. What? So even though that series is what mainly like cemented me in my like tween years as a reader and gave me that identity of reader and someone who was just passionately into books, I don't read it anymore. Whereas I could read, and I did, like 2 years ago, I read a Little House book. I read a Ramona book, even though they're way below my reading level now as an adult, because they're still fun and they were really nostalgic for me. Another series that I really liked as a teenager that really kept me into reading was Princess Diaries. Yeah, I really liked those growing up. As an adult, what book like got me back into reading or series got back into reading? I'll have to give that some thought. All I can really think of are the ones that I really liked as a child, but I feel like this is more about like me as an adult who didn't read for a few years because I got burnout in college. What brought me back to it? And I don't know. Except I really love Amy Tan's books, and even when I would be in a reading slump, I would read a book of hers, usually per year. So, what questions would I ask my favorite booktubers? How did you do it? How did you get people to watch your videos? I'm not looking for money or anything like that, but I would like some engagement. I would like to be a part of the community. And I would like to know how you do that. Is it just luck of the algorithm? Is it post amazing videos and somehow they'll be found? Like, I'd love to know. I also would like to know what your first favorite book would be, like your favorite childhood book. That'd be really interesting as well, because I went on my little tangent about all my childhood favorites, so I'd love to know that of my favorite booktubers. Starting a booktube channel, what will be the hardest things to overcome? Lack of viewership is what's really keeping me down right now and making it hard for me to be motivated to keep posting, because I'm just kind of talking into the void. And I had mentioned before that I do that in the car, and that this is an improvement over doing that in the car. But at the moment, it's about the same. Because whether I'm doing it in the car or I'm doing it on YouTube, nobody's listening to me. And I would love to be a part of the community and have friendships and do all kinds of fun stuff like that. I want to be a part of the community, and I feel like that's going to be a hard challenge to overcome. Also, this is just about YouTube in general, although I guess the last one was as well. But the embarrassment of putting myself out there. I only film when I am alone in the house because I am embarrassed. When my partner comes in and watches me edit, I am embarrassed. I don't mind the idea of these new people finding me and getting a community, but the idea of people I already know watching these videos makes me cringe. And I really need to get past that, because also I really want to write books, right? And the idea of someone I know reading a book I wrote scares the shit out of me. I am just so embarrassed, and I don't know why, but those are my hurdles. When did I start reading? I'll answer this question in a couple of ways. I started reading, like most people, in kindergarten. Duh. That's not what you're looking for. But I was so excited to read that my first day of kindergarten, I was like dancing into school, so happy. And when I came out, I remember being pissed because I didn't know how to read yet. I thought in one day of school I'd learn how to read. But I always had a passion for books and reading. I was an English major. It was a focus on linguistics, but I took a lot of literature classes as well for my electives because that was really where my passion lied, was in literature. And when I was in high school and college, mostly in college because it was my last 2 years of high school where I took community college classes. So really when I was in college, I got kind of burnt out of reading because I was reading so much for school, like often multiple books a week, that I didn't want to read for pleasure. I would sometimes read during summer vacation, but I got so burnt out that I just found it really hard to read for my own self. So I got back into reading about 2 years ago. In 2021, I got myself a Kindle. And it changed my life. I read so many more books with that. I started branching out into different genres rather than just rereading Amy Tan. I read more Maggie O'Farrell because I really liked The Vanishing Act of Esme Lennox. I read that in college. I started reading more of her books like Hamnet. And yeah, I'd say 2 years ago is when I really got back into reading. I have a call coming in. Goodbye, call. Okay. This is what sucks about filming on your phone. I've been a passionate reader as long as I could read. But I got back into reading as an adult when I was 30. Where do I read? I read everywhere. I like reading in bed. I read in the break room on my lunch at work. I take my Kindle everywhere I go. I read at my parents' house between socializing. I read on the couch. I read at the table. I read everywhere. What kind of books do I like to read? That is a good question. Since getting back into reading 2 years ago, I have been trying to figure out what my favorite genre is. I've read romance. I've read fantasy. I've read historical fiction. I used to say historical fiction was my favorite because Amy Tan is my favorite author. I don't know if that's the case, even though she is still my favorite author. I don't know what my favorite genre would be. I just like reading. I read a lot of different kinds of books, classic books, historical fiction, romance, fantasy, sci-fi. I just like to read. And I'd like to narrow it down to a favorite because then I can figure out what I like enough to write. The story that I'm writing is kind of a contemporary, and it's about this younger woman who goes to a psychiatric hospital. Because write what you know, right? I've been to a psychiatric hospital many times. And so I guess I like contemporaries, but I haven't read a whole lot of them. What genre would you say T.J. Klune's adult novels are? Because I guess that would be my genre of choice. My favorite book is probably The Vanishing Act of Esme Lennox by Maggie O'Farrell. And my favorite author, as I mentioned, is Amy Tan. I think I've read everything she's written, including her memoir. Yeah, I love her books. And both of those I was forced to read in school. I was forced to read The Joylet Club in high school, and I loved it and decided to read everything she ever wrote. And The Vanishing Act of Esme Lennox I read in college, and then a couple years ago decided to read more of what she wrote, and she's really great. Last question. What does my book collection look like? A mess! Do you want to see it? Okay, hold on. This is my bookshelf. It has witchcraft stuff, has some music stuff, has some of my partner stuff. This here are some books that I am going to read, as well as some books I have already read. There's where I shoved all the books from my first video. except for what's on my shelf. So that part of the shelf looks nice, right? Yeah. My book collection's a mess. Let me show you the nonfiction / my partner's books. One moment. This is my nonfiction / my partner's bookshelf. Anything that is here of mine is nonfiction. Top shelf is all cookbooks, mostly vegan. My partner's vegan and I used to be for many years. Then we have some other stuff here, some Toki Pona, some of my partner's stuff. This is mostly my partner's stuff. And there were like a couple books that I've read before that I kept here, but they might have been moved. So, in other words, my book collection is a mess, like the rest of my house. So, I'd like to get it neat, but I want to get through the books that I no longer want first, see what books I really enjoy, and donate the rest, and then I'll organize it and make it look nice. So, anyway, let me go back to my little setup. All right, we're back. And those are the 11 questions of the Booktuber Noob Tag. All right, I had fun with that. I was a little nervous. I probably babbled, and it was probably really crappy, but I don't know. I hope this gets me into the community, meet a couple people. That'd be great. Yeah. Also, in unrelated news, I ordered a Clockwork Reader's book journal, and it's pretty neat. So I'm excited to use that over the next couple of years because it holds 100 books. So probably like a year or two. All right. Bye.